film in the last several months that I was excited about it. And now it is finally coming out Friday, December 22nd, just in time for the holidays. The Iron Claw. It is a story. To say it's a story about pro wrestling, I think undersells it. It is a story about pro wrestling, but it's a story about America, relationships between fathers and sons, brothers, tragedy, triumph. It has a lot. And we're joined by two of the stars of the film, the man who plays Kerry Von Erich, Jeremy Allen White, and
Hello.
Kevin Von Erich, Zac Efron. How are you guys doing today?
Feeling good, man.
Great.
I'll start with you, Zac. You have an interesting sort of challenge because you're playing Kevin Von Erich, and I obviously don't want to give away too much for people who haven't seen the film and don't know this story as well as a huge wrestling fan like me does. But Kevin is the one who is still around. He is the person who gets to tell this story. How much pressure did you feel playing the character who is here to see this entire film unfold?
There's definitely an added element of pressure, and I think just an extra level of care and effort that you put into a performance, especially when you know that the real guy's still around and he's going to be seeing the movie. I wanted to portray him accurately and, to the best of my abilities, be able to inhabit him. But there's definitely a fine line where you want to make the performance somewhat original and be able to have a good arc, and part of that is making it your own, so to speak. So it's a fine line, but I gave everything I had to portraying. A lot of it was the physicality, I think, for these characters.
And that's the physicality part I want to get into because that's crazy. One more thing I want to ask you about, Kevin. One thing I loved about this film, and you can correct me if I'm speaking out of school here and you think I'm wrong, but I've never met Kevin, but from the stories I've heard throughout the years, obviously he lived a really interesting life. He went off to Hawaii and kind of found his own way, but he's always described as his own kind of cat. You know what I mean? He definitely seems unique. To me, from the outside, Kerry was sort of the cooler character, and Kevin was a little bit more offbeat. And then I thought, I wonder if that's the way it'll play in the movie because Kevin is the one alive to tell the story. And I thought you guys did a great job making it clear that even though he was one of these cool Von Erich boys, he was clearly riding his own wave from even the opening scene when he meets his wife for the first time. Was that part of the directive of playing Kevin, that he is sort of a unique kind of cat?
It was, man. We had a lot of fun with that. Over the course of the movie. One of the things that Sean, our director, really loved about Kevin was his energy and his charisma sort of inside the ring, especially when he was with his brothers. It was on another level, but outside the ring and sort of in interviews and things like that, he wasn't good at that showmanship side of it. He wasn't as polished as the other guys. He didn't flow into it as easy. And I think that juxtaposition there made for like a very, very interesting, endearing, kind of cool character in Kevin. And he's such an awesome dude in real life, man. You see how he got away with it.
Yeah, and you can also see how his being unique sort of maybe helped his survival in some ways. Jeremy, let me just ask you off top. First of all, you played Kerry, who's one of my all-time favorites, and it was such a cool, like just as a kid watching the Texas Tornado, always thought he was awesome. Did you have familiarity with Kerry Von Erich? What was your level of knowledge about the Von Erichs and pro wrestling in general?
Yeah, no, I mean, let's see. I was aware of pro wrestling, obviously, but I didn't grow up really watching very much of it. I had friends that were into it, and so I had like a pretty limited knowledge, but that was obviously like a different generation when I was coming up. The Von Erichs were around, before. So no, I wasn't familiar with the Von Erichs. But yeah, when I started talking to Sean Durkin, our director, about the movie, he might have even suggested that I watch this episode of Dark Side of the Ring that focused on the Von Erichs, maybe even prior to reading the script. So yeah. I became that was my introduction to the Von Erichs and the beginning of that kind of like research.
So like I'm just so curious from the outside. I know the story too well. You're someone, Jeremy, who like you don't know the story.
Yeah.
How did you react, like, hearing it? Because it's an unbelievable story. Like, were you immediately like, oh my God, this is a story I have to be a part of telling?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just the thing. You know, you hear that story, you see the story for the first time, and you're kind of like, this can't be. It seems like folklore or fantasy or something like that. Like it doesn't seem like it could be true. And yeah, like even before reading the script, like I said, and just watching that episode of the show about them, I was immediately kind of taken with these men even before kind of the tragedy and that part of the story was told. I just thought they were so charismatic, so interesting, and from my like limited understanding of professional wrestling, I mean they really seemed to have been these like trailblazers in the sport, and are responsible, I think, for you know, where the sport stands today in a big way.
Zach, how much work? I mean, just to be blunt, you guys are gigantic in the movie, Zach. I mean, Zach, you look like you're actually a Von Erich in it. Like, that was the part that actually, when the first time I see Zach's character, Kevin Von Erich, you physically reminded me of Kerry when he got to WWE. Like, you were that sort of jacked up you looked.
Oh, thanks, man.
How much work did you dudes put into doing this?
I mean, it was a lot of work. We, I mean, I personally started training 6-7 months out prior to even starting filming, and just to put on that size and to just commit to that level of training. But that, I mean, right sort of out the gate, as soon as we started filming, we watched so much footage on the Von Erichs. We had every clip, every sort of fight that was you know, available to us, and we were able to go through them kind of with a fine-tooth comb and really pick out different physicalities and things that that these guys did that were so cool inside the ring. Like Jeremy was saying, they really did kind of revolutionize wrestling in that era and took it to a whole different level. So I was grateful for every moment we spent training. I think that informed a lot of the performance, and I was grateful that these guys had left so much behind for us to you know, work on and to watch and to kind of perfect.
Anything surprising about the level of the pain of just running the ropes or taking a basic back bump? Like, I have to imagine that was...
It's crazy. That stuff is pain. Just that simple stuff. Like, I had no idea. The first time I stepped into the ring was in LA with Chavo, like maybe a month before we all went to Baton Rouge, where we shot the film to start training. And yeah, I couldn't believe just how hard the mat was, how hard the ropes were. I mean, that's just like cable covered with like a little bit of padding. Even that simple stuff was like.
And the mat's not a mat. I mean, it's just plywood.
Yeah,
it's wood with just something on top of it. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's really nothing. There's definitely a quick learning curve. You know, to take bumps and to fall into that mat and hitting those ropes, all of those things were incredibly challenging, but really kind of rewarding when we got through it.
It's fun because when you're in it, like when we were filming those like longer takes of those scenes on the day, you don't feel. I mean, like, your adrenaline is going. You're so excited to be there. We've been training for so long, so yeah, you don't feel it in the moment, but yeah, the next day you
definitely feel it the next day. We got a lot of bruises and scrapes. Also, another thing we did is we shot all the matches sort of from walkout to jumping in the ring to we'd shoot the whole match, you know, and all the moves, you know, in 10, 15 minute long matches in their entirety without cutting. So we made it as real as possible.
I am the ultimate skeptic on seeing stuff like this, and I literally wanted to one day produce a story about them. That's how personal it was with me. I was so ready to hate on this film. I had everything juiced up, even the way the sportatorium looks. Sean did an amazing job. You guys did an amazing job. I'm told you have to go. I want to show you one thing on your way out that I think you'll get a kick out of.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to my number one thing that I collect is vintage T-shirts. So I thought you guys would appreciate this. Kerry Von Erich is #1 T-shirt from like the
Oh, that's
early,
unreal, man.
that's from the early 80s. This is a little bit later when he was more, you know, he was getting to big time Dallas carry. And then, of course, maybe my most prized, when he made it to WWE eventually as the Texas Tornado.
Tornado, baby.
Dude, those are sick, man. Well done.
Oh, you know, they cost a little bit. Guys, December 22nd, the film is out, The Iron Claw. Go see it with your family. You'll love it. Thank you guys for making time, and congrats.
Thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate it,
Appreciate you, man.
Thank
Nice
you.
talking to you.